So this morning I woke up thinking about you. I love you guys. I'm so inspired to get to be with you. And I thought, I'm pretty excited, a little nervous, not in a bad way. I just get excited. I like people and I miss people. I'm going to read a little Pema Chödrön. So this is the exact copy from 1991 that I got when I lived in Boston. I probably got it in 1993 when I was working at Shambhala Publications. And I just opened it, literally opened it to this page. Do you see what that page says? It might be backward for you guys. And I was going to continue to just start in a beginning of a chapter. Can anyone see what that said? Joy. But this caught my eye. And I read this and it's exactly what I wanted to talk about. The only difference is it's Pema, not me. And it's much more succinct and much more inspiring. And it's fundamentally about joy. So this whole hour should be about joy, no matter how stressed out, freaked out, no matter how bad your situation is, give yourself the gift of joy right now. Not out of forcing anything, out of relaxing. So here it is. Here's what I read this morning. Trungpa Rinpoche always used to say, quote, "You can do it." That was probably one of his main teachings. You can do it. Thich Nhat Hanh, in his guide to walking meditation, begins by talking about how everybody, let's slow down and really listen. Thich Nhat Hanh, in his guide to walking meditation, begins by talking about how everybody carries around this burden. And if you want to put it off, if you want to lay it down, you can do it. You can connect with the joy in your heart. Let's just listen. On a day of silence like today, when things are very still, so perfect, right? On a day of silence like today, when things are very still, you may find that you are feeling grim and doing everything with a grim expression, grimly opening the door, grimly drinking your tea, concentrating so hard on being quiet and still and moving slowly that you're miserable. She's talking to a bunch of meditators, but I think it applies to us. On the other hand, you could just relax and realize that behind all the worry, complaint, touch your heart if you want, not in a cheesy way, in a literal way, in a physical way. On the other hand, you could just relax and realize that behind all the worry, complaint, and disapproval that goes on in your mind, the sun is always coming up in the morning, moving across the sky and going down in the evening. The birds are always out there collecting their food and making their nests and flying across the sky. If you're touching your heart, maybe just type a little arrow and a 3, a little heart. The birds are always out there collecting their food and making their nests and flying across the sky. The grass is always being blown by the wind or standing still. Food and flowers and trees are growing out of the earth right now. There's an enormous richness. You could develop your passion for life and your curiosity and your interest. You could connect with your joyfulness. You could start right now. The Navajo teach their children that every morning, when the sun comes up, it's a brand new sun. It's born each morning. It lives for the duration of one day. And in the evening, it passes on, never to return again. As soon as the children are old enough to understand, the adults take them out at dawn and they say, "The sun has only one day. You must live this day in a good way so that the sun won't have wasted precious time. Acknowledging the preciousness of each day is a good way to live, a good way to reconnect with our basic joy." So that's Pema Chödrön. And what we discover is that this joy isn't, yay, life is great. That often is what we call positivity. We think positivity is positive. What's the problem with positivity? What is truly positive? Positivity can be a little bit forced, a little bit hyper, a little bit closed-hearted. When we're truly joyful, we find ourselves opening up, as Pema describes, to the birds, to our appreciation that the trees are growing, the buds in the midst of this coronavirus. Who has noticed the flowers, the buds on the trees coming out? We start feeling our sadness. We start feeling our hearts, and we start caring again about ourselves and each other. And that is a joyfulness that is rooted in our hearts, and that is truly joyful and truly appreciative and not macho and not forced. Is fundamental. Fundamental, because I saw some really awful things on the internet recently saying human beings are the virus, human beings are evil. That's way too easy. I saw one of the Joker in Batman saying human beings are the virus. You know, I love Batman, right? And the Joker has some wisdom. We blogged about that on Elephant. But only nihilists say that human beings are evil. Only people doing evil stuff say that human beings are evil. If you're around some farmers doing some good work, sticking their big old strong hands in the earth, if you're around bakers, if you're around craftsmen, if you're around service workers, if you're around these healthcare workers, if you're around a mother, a father who loves their children and is willing to breathe through the tough times, you realize human beings are capable of so much goodness, and that goodness isn't external. That goodness comes from right here. We're fundamentally good. And all the neurosis and the evil and the selfishness and the trying to tear toilet paper hoarding out of the old lady's hands, all that comes from the mistaken notion of ego, which is I am separate from you. I do have to take care of myself. That's Maitri. We do have to take care of ourselves and love ourselves. But if we do that, we naturally care about others.